everybody, I'm Dusk. Welcome to Realm of the Sacred Roots. I just wanted to thank everybody who's been faithful in watching my videos, and welcome if it's your first time watching one of my videos. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I wanted to talk about how I went from demons to the dead. Just a little background. I was raised Christian and I was more on the prophetic side. So we were always known as a little weird. We were always doing things most church folk didn't do. And so if you look at one of my videos I just made about the prophetic versus the shaman, it will kind of show a little bit of the similarities between the two. But I was basically raised on the prophetic side within Christianity, and it was an interesting journey. I ended up, since I was little, being attacked. Or I should say, as a younger girl, I was attacked by demons quite often, whether it was going to bed, waking up in the morning. Some people might call it sleep paralysis. I also did a video on that. But this was, to me, a little different. And so I ended up doing this for quite a few years, actually. And I almost feel like I need to thank them because I ended up learning a lot about battling lower level entities, I call them, but basically battling demons. I learned about when they attack. I understood a little bit more about different levels they were on, and I also knew that each one had their own type of strength, and I know how they attack, when they attack, where they attack, and usually why they attack. So I learned a lot in my early years about demons. So I was just constantly always fighting them. Even in my dreams, they would come to me. Eventually, when I left Christianity and I ended up on a path of Satanism, I did that for a little while. And the attacks from the demons stopped. Uh, Consequently, they ended up stopping. And so, again, a lot of people, if you come from that religious type, that religious side might say, well, you are no longer a threat to the kingdom of darkness. So of course the attacks would stop from the demons. And so they did stop, and I didn't really question why. I just kind of did a okay, the attacks stopped. And in a natural progression for me, after Satanism, I ended up going down the shamanism side, and I started to notice a shift as I went into shamanism. One day I was standing in my apartment and I felt an entity in the house that was a darker feeling to me, a darker type of entity. And I didn't know what it was. So at the time, I smudged the house and I wasn't sure what it was. And I thought, possibly it's a demon, because from my point of view, anything that was dark was a demon. And it wasn't the case. I ended up, through trial and error, finding out that it was actually the spirit of a recently murdered female who was trying to reach out to me. At the time, I didn't know that I was to be working with the dead, and I would eventually be a psychopomp or a death walker, as I call it. So at the time, I just knew that the feeling of this female who had recently been murdered was a darker entity in the house, and I didn't know how to handle it, like I said, at that time. So eventually, finding out that she was murdered, and I talked to a friend of mine who was a medium, that's when I started to realize that is kind of what I ended up shifting into when I went into shamanism, and my gifts as a medium started to kick in, and I started to sense spirits of the dead pretty much everywhere. And there were different ways. I'm going to do a video right after this on sensing the dead, how I sense them and how they make themselves known to me, just so in case you end up going through a similar experience, you'll know what you are sensing. You'll know what's around you in different ways to identify that's what it is. So anyways, that's what I started to do, was learn the different ways that the dead would come to me, how they would approach me. And it would be at night, it sometimes during the day. And there are all different, using your clear senses, all different ways that they will come to you. Each has their own distinct feeling, from demons to the disincarnate or the dead. And so I just realized in mediumship and being a psychopomp that there was a job for me to do, that that they actually, the spirits of the dead, actually, some of them need to be escorted from life over to death. Some needed to have someone help them through going through that transition from one realm to another realm. And I realized that this was something that I was supposed to do, and it felt natural to me. But initially, making that jump from demon to the dead, I was initially somewhat scared. And I wasn't scared of the demons, and possibly because I used to um, s- see them from so young and deal with them from such a young standpoint. The dead to me was scary. I'm like, what the heck? And it took a little bit for me to, because anything that's a challenge to me, I'm going to take it on. I'm going to take it as a challenge, and I'm going to master it. So that's what happened. But initially, I didn't want to deal, I wasn't sure if I wanted to deal with the dead, because I'm like, that's kind of creepy. And I just felt I had this comfort level over here with demons. And I would talk to people, and most people I talked to had the opposite, where they're like, no, 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 I'm okay with dealing with those that have passed on. I'm just, no way would I deal with demons. And so I usually found people that had the opposite effect as me. So it was hard to find somebody that could relate to what I was trying to come across as, with dealing with those that have passed on. So I'm going to make a video right after this about how I sense the those who have passed on, and how they show themselves to me, and kind of my journey now into the world of the dead, the death current, and how necromancy plays into my life now. So that'll be on my next video. I just wanted to keep this one short and tell you about my transition from demons to the dead, and that was my natural progression versus what most people say would be the opposite. So neither is to be feared, and both are to be respected. Demons and the dead would are both to be respected. So I currently work with both, and there's no fear there. Like I said, just respect, as they would respect me. So hopefully that answers your question, and look forward to my next video. I'll probably put the link down below so you guys can see it after I get done making it. It'll just be easy to click on. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.